Okay, Lagos. Good morning. And it's a Feel Good Friday. Today we'll be looking at stories. Remember, you can join the conversation by logging onto YouTube. Just type youtube.com/smooth91fm at Lagos. Or send us a message on WhatsApp 0809-444-0981.
Indeed.
And also you can tweet at us at smooth91fm on Twitter. Use the hashtag freshlypressed91. The first story is from New Telegraph. This story has the headline, Reps Dash Hopes of 300,000 Youths Dump Peace Corps Bill. So the bill was sent into the House initially, but on February 27th of February 2018 this year, Buhari declined to assent the bill. And at that time, the House of Representatives had said that they were going to override President Muhammadu Buhari's veto on the Peace Corps bill. But now it seems like they've changed their minds. Cheta, can you take us through the story and what the implications are?
See, this is one thing that I totally agree with the president on. The Peace Corps, the whole Peace Corps thing is just nonsense. And it's somebody's pet project, which he was trying to find a way to get the government to take over and essentially take his bills. Dixon Akko. We definitely need a revamp of our security architecture. The way our security is fraying at the seams, it's clear that we need a revamp of security architecture. But this whole thing of yet another heavily centralized body. Remember how NSCD, what would they call them?
NSCDC?
Yes, how they came about. It was very similar. Somebody's pet project somewhere, and then they suddenly finally found a way to get the federal government of Nigeria to foot the tab. A federal government of Nigeria that is having problems paying salaries because of falling revenue. I mean, come on, we don't need this. I'm just annoyed at the whole thing. That's
sorry.
No vex. The bottom line is, on this, Buhari was right, and I'm glad that the reps finally saw the light. It's total nonsense, and get out.
Thank you. Thank you. You must be really upset. Mr. Ireti Bakare-Yusuf, I'll come to you next with this story. Imo APC crisis. Okorocha's faction takes over party secretariat. It's from Vanguard newspaper. They said the Hillary AK-led Imo state chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC executive was forced out of the party secretariat by forces loyal to Governor Rocha's Okorocha. Mr. Ireti, what's your take on this story?
Well, my take on it is that they're fighting.
It's been a lot of fighting.
Yes. So where we got used to PDP being the party of rancor, APC seems to have taken over. And I think all this sort of ground shifting that happens before the elections or before we embark on another election is just typical of the weaknesses within our, party politics, etc. So Okorocha. Right, I haven't had a chance to read this story in full, so I'm going to do my best. So you have Okorocha's executive, right? And then you have the national leadership. They have a vote for the national leadership of the party. And they want to cancel the Congress and open a fresh one because obviously they're not agreeing with it. Now, the publicity secretary said it would be, quote, it would be a waste of time for them to say that they have elected executives after we must have concluded party congresses. That's odd. So what is he saying? He's saying that so we must conclude all the congresses before you elect the executives. I believe that's what he must be saying there. Right, okay. Then Hillary AK, who emerged as the last week's Congress, who was actually suspended by the party, then said the Congress of the party is purely an internal affair. The NWC put the guidelines, and if you fail to follow the rules, then you want to leave the party. You must be dreaming. when you think that you can be a party chairman and based on appointment. I get that.
That's actually precisely a statement from Chris Ogwoma. Chris Ogwoma is the executive head of the Okorocha's part of the APC.
Yeah, this is
as making decisions. He said to pass a vote of no confidence on Hillary K. And by
this is the issue. The issue is Rochas wants his son-in-law to
be the next governor.
A group of people within the APC have said, but it's not happening. So basically, what you have is a situation. You remember in the last few weeks, Rochas, after the APC Congress fell more or less, and the opposition to Rochas, as it were,
yes.
Rochas actually tried to join ABGA.
That's right.
On 3 occasions, and on 3 occasions, ABGA told him, "It's a lie. You are not coming." Because what is happening here is, they want to force his son-in-law on a ticket, any ticket, and then basically now, so that during the elections he will be on a ballot, and then they will now flood everywhere with cash and he will win. So the conclusion by various forces that are opposed to Rochas, as it were, is that, man, we cannot let this man to be on a ticket. That's what this is all about. It's all about share the money. End of story.
Thank you
Let it go
very
around,
much,
let it go
Mr.
around.
and Cheta. We'll move on now very quickly. Remember, you can join us on YouTube. We're streaming live.
Go to youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. You can also tweet at us. We will be reading out your messages in just a few seconds. Use the hashtag freshlypressed981. And of course, send us messages to our WhatsApp number, which is 0809 4440981. We've also got Tunde Okufi, who's joined us in the studio, so just in case you hear the voice of Big Cuffs and you're wondering what happened, the rain happened, but he's here. Good morning, Tunde. Thank you very much for coming in this morning. All right, we'll carry on.
Yes, we'll carry on to Punch next. That has this story. Buhari's bill on water resources splits northern and southern senators. So an executive bill sent to the Senate seeking to concentrate the control of water resources in the hands of the federal government. The bill, which is titled "A Bill for an Act to Establish a Regulatory Framework for the Water Resources Sector in Nigeria, Provide Equitable and Sustainable Redevelopment, Management, Use and Conservation of Nigeria's water surface or surface water and groundwater resources." And for regulatory matters, this bill precisely got the attention of the World Bank. The southern governors, their grouse is that they said this is going to, devolve power, that it's going to go against the plan to centralize, or rather to devolve power to other parts of the country. Is going to centralize control, and really the majority of the power and all that they're going to control to the north, and it's going to be a disservice to even the Niger Delta agitators are saying this is going to be crossing the line eventually.
Well, for me, let's start from the beginning. The bill is a total waste of everybody's time. And why do I say so?
Why do you say that?
Water resources are already on the exclusive legislative list. It's a federal government thing already. So I don't know why we're having another law to put on top of the law that already exists. Having said that, one thing that should be clear to everybody is Nigeria's water resources, our waterways, are heavily underutilized. I mean, there's really no reason why, for example, if I want to travel from, say, Abo in Delta State to Yola in Adamawa State, I should start using all these rickety roads to go, when I can simply get on the Nor River, which is a tributary of the Niger, then float upwards, and then at Lokoja turn right and go down the Benue River. I've actually stayed on a hotel on the banks of the Benue in Yola. So this thing is all the way, but we don't utilize it, and then devolve it to the states so that we can start seeing people make use of it. Now, another thing that's unsaid, that is driving the opposition, is if you look at the pastoral conflict that has been happening, the vast majority of the attacks are happening along waterways.
That's right.
Now, trust in the federal government has broken down. That we can't avoid that fact. It is a fact. So when the federal government says, "Oh, we want to consolidate our hold over waterways," what people are saying is, so you want to give headsmen. That's what people are saying.
But
so
why shouldn't they feel that way? Like, is this
good question?
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, Cheta, you're exactly right. We're so many years, and this doesn't really take us forward. We're so many years behind as regards what we should be doing with our waterway. A lot of the time, we look at it as a means and a source for waste disposal, as opposed to viable economic, harnessing the economic potential within it for transportation, commerce, and a bunch of moving goods and a bunch of other things. When the world is looking at, how do we keep, clean up the water, our waterways and the water that's within our jurisdiction. Yeah. We're not really moving forward with that. Another very important issue is groundwater. Without structure, in most places, the government doesn't deliver water to homes in a structured and proper manner. So everyone is left to drill boreholes willy-nilly, which has huge implications on contaminating groundwater and would affect health further down the line, many years down the line. My main issue is that this bill is not progressive. Right, the waterway is on the exclusive list. I thought we'll be looking at a situation where we'll be divulging or divesting some of that control to the states and start to unlock a bit of the potential that we can from our waterways. I mean, it literally cuts across the country. Yeah, and it can serve as a very powerful means of getting things around.
All right, thank you so very much, Tunde and Cheta, on that one. We'll move on very quickly to the next story here in front of us. It's from the Guardian newspapers. Now, this story talks about the part of the country really that just about the Biafra and pushing that forward. There's a group precisely called Biafra Zionist Federation, BZF. They said the federal government was trying to intimidate its members by carrying out their plans to declare Biafra Republic on the 30th of May by deploying fighter jets in the zone. And this is on the heels of their plan really to take over according to them, they categorically stated that they're going to take over the government house, and that Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State should stay clear of controversy on that day by vacating the office before the due date. What's your take, Cheta?
See, this BZF, Benjamin Onwuka's group, I'm even surprised that he's out of detention. This is not the first time that they're attacking government. They are threatening to attack government house in Enugu, and before in 2014 they actually carried out that attack. If you remember, there was an attack on government house in Enugu, and it was BZF, Ben Onwuka. So you have this issue now. BZF if you take a spectrum of pro-Biafra groups, BZF is on the extreme right of it, as in they are the ones, they believe that violence is the way forward, and they're on the very fringe of the whole thing.
Because the clear statement they made here is it just sounds like they're not giving the government any option, any loophole whatsoever. They said on the 30th, if they arrest us, they've dug their hole. If they do not arrest us, the announcement will be made.
When you talk of people like Benji Onwuka, you look at the people that
background?
follow him. They are background? Not. He's an extremist. Ubuge. He can translate for you.
He kills time.
So basically, he doesn't have much doing. So for people like him, this is something that gives them something to do, makes them relevant. You understand? Now, one thing that there are 6 pro-Biafra groups that are relatively prominent. He's been trying to push his own to the fore, and he doesn't have that much of a following. But increasingly, he's beginning to, because he's making some noise, and with the vacuum created by the disappearance of Nnamdi Kano, people are beginning to look at him a little. Now, here's the thing: this whole method that we keep using of once somebody says this, arrest them. Once somebody says it doesn't work. It will never work. Here are the unemployment statistics from the 7 states that have a significant Igbo indigenous population. Unemployment plus underemployment, which is total unemployment. Abia 45.3%, Anambra 29.5%, Delta 38%, Ebonyi 35.5%, Enugu 37.6%.
That's really high.
Imo 46.1%, Rivers 61.4%. Doesn't it?
There's a correlation.
There's definitely a correlation. If you notice, the places
unrest,
where this unrest flares up the most are the 4 at the bottom: Rivers, Delta, Ebonyi. Rivers, Delta, Imo, and Abia.
Therefore, the devil making use of those hands.
And I'll keep telling that story of 20,000 people in front of Nnamdi Kano's house on a work day.
I remember.
That's everything you need to know. So the key thing, and this is not just an Igbo problem, so that Nigerians, this is a Nigeria problem. We have too many young people sitting down with nothing to do. And what did they say about an idle mind? The devil's workshop. Remember, yesterday IMF published a report that over the next 8 years, Nigerians are going to get poorer per capita year on year on year. That is disaster in the making. That's social unrest they are looking at. Arresting people won't solve it. What will solve it is finding these people something to do.
Jobs,
even if it's somebody going to break rocks all day, by the time he gets home and he's exhausted from breaking rocks all day, end of story.
Absolutely. Even if he's farming.
But does it lie solely in the government's hands? Shouldn't the youth in that area really try to find a way to get gainful employment, or really? What's the education?
Find a way to get gainful employment.
The government's job is there are a lot of entrepreneurial youth in Lagos.
I think possibly what you're trying to say.
Out of what? The government's first job is to create the enabling environment. You can't have a situation where government changes the rules at the when they feel like somebody will just wake up tomorrow.
But very quickly to sort of support what I think Val is trying to say is that, look, you've also got the state governors. There's the governors of each state. What are they doing about it?
We just talked about waterways
exactly
bill.
But that's one bill. Allow me to finish. That's one bill.
68 items on the exclusive list.
Yes, okay, fine. There are 68 items on the exclusive list. However, you still get your allocation. And what are you doing to create jobs and employment within your state?
Local government level.
And you do have to ask. Allow me, Cheta. You do have to ask the questions, because obviously we have to move on. You do have to ask critical questions of us as a people and of the government, but more importantly, of the indigents, the residents of that state. What are you doing to better your lot?
Yesterday, Kashim Shettima, the governor of Borno State, told Bet Niger or Niger Bet, one of them,
Bet Niger,
told all of them, as in all those betting guys,
an online betting company.
Online betting company. No, not to come. As in, Alele, pack your loot. You are spoiling the spiritual thing of the young people in my state. So get out of the state. As long as we have this thing of every month, everybody goes to Abuja to share money and come back. You will not have governors that will create value. End of story. So it is the exclusive list that is the problem.
All right, we'll move on now to take more comments really on WhatsApp. They're sending the messages here. If you want to send yours, please, the number is 0809 444 981. This one here is from Walter Nigodu, who says, "Good morning, guys. Instead of the Peace Corps, why not fortify our police? Concerning Imo APC and Okorocha, it's the battle of the drowning man, and that will be the end of APC and Okorocha and Imo." Thank you very much. Otune, alright, thank you very much. We see your message. Yinka says, "So we keep talking about Biafra here and there. The Biafran thing is an ideology. You cannot suppress an ideology by carrying out arrests. You use a superior ideology. The federal government needs to work on their minds. Bottom line is these guys are jobless." In caps, he said. "Create an enabling environment for job creation. To make matters worse, you have governors declaring holidays just because Buhari is coming to commission boreholes and bus stops. Solution we need is to get our PVCs." Thank you, Yinka. Harry Manuel said, "The interesting thing about the bill is the negligible quality of debate between our 13.5 million naira monthly overhead senators. No one was bold enough to point out the regressive and cheap thought process that produced that executive bill. Instead, they decided to debate along regional lines. Very depressing." We'll move on now. The next story is on the Guardian newspaper.
Up next, let's talk about the gunfire in Kano court as the EFCC arraigned Shekarau and Wali. Cheta, going to you for this story. Or Tunde, rather, we're going to you for this particular story. Sorry about that. What's your take on this one?
It's politics in Nigeria and justice in Nigeria. It's at crossroads of so many funny different things. So these gentlemen, mostly involved in the past administration, have been arraigned before the court by the EFCC for a 950 million fraud involving the former Minister of Petroleum, Diziani Maduke. And so the incident in Kano is centered around, bottom line, around unruliness. The story has centered around unruliness while trying to arraign them in court, and the police trying to keep that order. I mean, if we were to focus on that for a minute, what they've said has happened, that the police fired rounds, live rounds, I guess. I don't know how that is, used for peaceful keeping, but they also used tear gas, and that's pretty much the center of the story. The focus on the legal proceedings, which would be of more importance to us, is the counsel for the defendants have applied for bail. After considering it, the justice has granted that bail, but asked, placed conditions, 100 million naira,
Absolutely.
surety with landed property. They need to submit their passports and a bunch of other things. But they're remanded in EFCC custody until they meet those conditions. Let's see how it plays out. The EFCC probably would, push against that decision. Let's see how it goes from there. But the case has been adjourned in court till June the 26th.
All right, thank you very much for that. Moving on very quickly, ThisDay newspaper. Let's talk about our rail tracks again very quickly. Amaechi's coming back out to say we're gunning for that December delivery deadline for the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge, but for that to happen, work will need to begin on the Lagos corridor by June. There were some concerns as to Lagos's involvement and how they would sort out issues with regards to sewage and water. Amaechi says literally the federal government is doing their part, they're ready, but they may have reached a compromise. Mr. Ireti, your thoughts?
Well, he's talking a good talk, isn't he? And again, I dare say, my cynic comes out. Election. So he's talking a good talk. We're moving. In fact, he was asked the question, what about the rainy season? Is this not going to delay you? And he said, no. The contractor they've committed that there will nothing, that's a regardless, this is a quote, regardless of the natural elements, they will continue work. Okay, Mr. Amaechi, I hope we can hold you to that. What I'm curious about is, so they're building, I think, is it 13 bridges? Cheta, you've been all over this country. Where's Papalanto and Ibadan? What sort of distance are we talking?
Give or take about, because it's along the A1, so it's basically a long stretch of road. It's hard to estimate these distances now because of the sometimes you get stuck in Ogbomoso for hours.
This is true. So you can no longer
well, they're doing
it's somewhere between that's Kwara
right
axis.
Okay, so there's 17 bridges from Papalanto to Ibadan. So from that Kwara axis all the way to Ibadan, there are 17 bridges. What I don't, and I think there's supposed to be 2 or 3 bridges between Lagos. Yes. What I don't understand is, I'm presuming these are vehicle bridges, not pedestrian bridges. Or
I'm presuming
it doesn't say.
Rail.
They're rail, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, because
they've not started building yet.
Well, exactly. And he says, well, we're moving along. We've made some.
A couple of beams that have been put down, Cheta.
I've seen a few. They end up being a supermarket. Half of those bins end up being a place for you to sell groundnut and everything. But yeah, so anyway, he's speaking well. And actually, it would appear he was also trying to imply that Lagos State might have been causing some delay or whatever, but he says now that they've come to an agreement and Lagos State have said they will come back with a solution. So we look forward to seeing what becomes. I'm not excited about it, mainly because I don't trust the excitement that comes from such a government official.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ireti, and thank you to Prince who sent the message saying Papalanto is at Iwiko Road just before Abeokuta. Moving on again, Innoson chairman has not shown up to court for a while, and the New Telegraph newspaper tells us that the court have declared him wanted. This is because he's been absent. It's the 5th time he's been absent from proceedings for arraignment, and the judge is just not having it, really. Very briefly, Mr. Ireti.
Not having it at all, and he keeps not turning up in court. January 17th, February 9th, and now he hasn't turned up. And so, of course, the judge has issued another bench warrant. What makes you laugh when you read this story is you have the EFCC lawyer, Ozioku, who said, I sincerely apologize to the court for all that is going on in this matter. This is the 5th time this matter is coming for arraignment, and we are still saying the same thing. Lamenting on the arbitral, then he goes on, he says, whilst he's lamenting, by the way, is it too big for the court? Is it too big for Nigeria and the Nigerian people? We don't want anything to him supply because he has money. like thinking, okay, he threw a bit of a tantrum in court, didn't he?
Well, Mr. Ireti, we do have to look at it this way, because we do say all the time, well, when government officials do it, we do chastise them. It's not correct. You mustn't.
I agree.
We know that this has to do with the delivery that Innocent took. Well, they took the delivery because they felt we're being owed money. That's ours. Let's go ahead.
So they basically took the law into their own hands rather than going back to court with Guarantee Trust Bank. I totally get it. It was just the sort of tantrum nature of this. The lawyers ranting in court kind of reminded me of a Nigerian playground and children. Is your daddy too big to think he can come to school? Anyway, so, moving on from that. And then incredibly, the defense lawyer then says, oh, may I remind the judge that at the last hearing, this is a quote, at the last hearing on April 25th, this honorable court maintained a position that the court could not take any of the first and second defendants' pending applications on the grounds that the first defendant has not been arraigned. Well, he's not turning up, love. What do you want them to do? Send it to him by cuckoo?
I mean, this is bad behavior.
Terrible behavior. Terrible.
End of story. So
terrible.
You should be arrested.
Terrible. What I don't know, can they not close his office?
We do have to move on from this, though, Mr. Ireti. We can't stay on that. We've got to move on and talk about Ebonyi community that are protesting alleged police intimidation and a mass arrest. This has to do with a dispute between a private company and the Ebonyi state government. They're saying there's been a mining deal which the Ebonyi state government don't really agree with, but should they be carrying this out on the villagers? Cheta?
So it comes back to what Valentine said earlier about that the people should find something to do. Apoha community, they were sitting on their own. Turns out that there's a lot of asphalt in the ground under their feet, and this company, Asphalt Construction Limited, came, negotiated with them, and paid them 19 million naira for that piece of land so that they can mine asphalt. Ebonyi State government, which is the custodian of all land in Ebonyi State and everything under, based on the terms of the Land Use Act, said it's a lie. We don't want, and decided to arrest basically everybody in Apoha. This is what we're talking about. Okay, how do you develop this thing? No, but in sensible countries, there's something called power of eminent domain, which allows governments to take over private land for public purposes only if the government provides fair compensation to the property owner. In our own place, they can just come and seize the land and then pay you whatever they like, based on the Land Use Act. Now, when you have a system that doesn't respect property rights, which is the system we run here, you cannot create employment. Let me ask you a question. How many of all the oil companies in Nigeria, the international oil companies, actually own property in Nigeria, not lease?
Thank you very much for that, Cheta. We're pretty much done with Freshly Pressed for this morning. I'm just going to mention the last story, talking about credit cuts threatening airline operations and failure, and this is because of a failure to effectively service their debt. So Nigerian banks are cutting credit facility to domestic carriers, denying them operational funds. This, of course, will have knock-on effect on the general public. Mr. Ireti, about 3 sentences.
3 sentences. We're all in danger. That's the 3 sentences. It puts us all in danger because they can't maintain, they can't fix, they can't buy spare parts. 3 sentences. Something needs to happen today before we get another plane crash.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ireti. I will round up with 1 or 2 messages up on WhatsApp. Chedu says the issue of keeping idle minds busy. Lazy youth don't break rocks. It makes them sweat and causes blisters. They'd rather sit and complain and blame the government for everything, and that is the truth. Yikes. Yinka, in the meantime, says, see, I don't understand governance in this country because we tend to make it look like rocket science. From Shango to Papalantu, close to Okorocha, has a lot of human and business activities. As a matter of fact, you have people living as far as Ifo and Shango working on the island. How do they do it? I have no idea because they should be dead by now, considering the state of that road. The annoying thing is, before the bridge around Shango is terrible. Please note the caps. Then on the bridge is smooth and fine. Then just after the bridge, hell. The road is a federal road, and I wonder if both Amaechi and Amoso are blind and deaf combined. Fix the existing roads before embarking on new ones. And finally, this is in from Otune, who says, What about our president that's been disobeying court orders? We mentioned that. So why should they come up? Oh, so because one person doesn't obey the law, everybody should be. Let's all live in anarchy.
Ignorant of the law.
I'll come and collect your car next. That's what will happen.
Exactly.
All right.
Get your PVC next is what.
We are done for this morning. Thank you to our analysts for showing up. We appreciate you guys. And thank you to everyone for watching on YouTube. We're switching lanes coming up at 8:15. We will be talking about sports inside the locker room. Good morning, Lagos.
The headlines. The stories.
Thank you, Tunde.
And I meant to send you this yesterday.